Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. It is how to qualify more borrowers now. We want to welcome you and thank you for spending some time with us today. And I want to assure you that this webinar is live. So if you have questions for the panelists, they're eager to answer them at the end of the webinar, and you can use the Q&A panel to put your questions in. We want to thank Credit Expert for sponsoring today's webinar and sharing this extremely valuable intel with everybody today. We know it's going to help you close more loans and help more applicants get qualified and get into home ownership. So we are really excited to be sharing this with you today. And thank you to Credit Expert for sponsoring. So our panelists today, we have Mike Darn. He is VP of Marketing at Credit Expert, and Renata Shiner, VP of Product, and they're here today to talk about credit optimization and Credit Expert's new platform. So we're going to get things started with Mike, but first we have a poll I wanted to share. See a quick poll question. I'm going to share it on the screen. Let's see here. Okay. So the question is, when you compare 2023 to previous years, have you seen an increase in the number of borrowers that could use help in optimizing their credit score? Choose one. Let us know what you're experiencing this year. The first answer is 2023 feels like a lot of previous years, and no one is choosing that answer. Just not really a surprise. Yes, people have seen slight increases. A lot of people, looks like 33% have seen a significant increase in the number of borrowers that could use help with credit optimization. And then some people are saying they're not sure. So everybody got their poll answers in? I'll give it 8 more seconds and then we'll let Mike take it away. Okay, go ahead, Mike. Oh, you're on mute, I'm afraid.
All right, there. Now
Got
we're
it.
ready. Sorry, I was waiting for the poll to pop up. So it looks like you said, a number of people, in fact, 27% are saying that they have seen a significant increase in the number of borrowers that could use that help. Half are really not sure. And, my hope is that today, as we talk about credit optimization, and Renata is going to run through a demo of our new platform that, and I think the thing is with the new platform, you'll be able to see, in fact, which of your borrowers could use help with that, and you'll be able to see it pretty easily. So appreciate everybody participating here. So yeah, so I'm just going to jump right in. And I think, one of the things, I'm relatively new in the grand scheme of things to the mortgage space, been here at Credit Expert for about 3 years. But what we've been seeing when we do research is that a lot of borrowers are out there, and in fact, 50% of borrowers are applying, not just considering, but actually applying with 2 or more lenders. Now, as somebody that tends to be lazy about things like that, I can't imagine going through a full application process with multiple lenders. But in fact, that's what's happening. In fact, we're seeing a significant percentage of those that are applying with 3, 4, 5 lenders at a time. And the question really is, why would they do that? My sense is they're not doing it just because it's an enjoyable process and they get fulfillment out of applying and pulling all their financial statements and everything together. My sense is that they're really out there shopping for a better deal, right? And that is really, really important in these days as interest rates have shot through the roof. People, have, I think, gotten a sense of security around these low interest rates. And And so looking for ways to save money there. And then on the other side of things, lenders are certainly entertaining this, right? So they're working really hard behind the scenes to present that best offer out there to those that are applying with them. And the reason being is that you're putting that work in, and if you're not being selected at the end of the day, you've now probably spent money and you spent time trying to get that person through the door. So I'm going to say something that might sound a little bit radical, but I actually think that both borrowers and lenders are working too hard in this process, because at the end of the day, they're coming together and they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to put that most compelling offer out there. And I think what I would say is the reason I say that they're working too hard is that there is an option out there, and we call it credit optimization, that can help both achieve the same outcome. It can help borrowers lower their interest rate and therefore lower their cost of borrowing. And it can help lenders put their best foot forward in multiple different ways. And so what I hope to do today is to talk through that just a little bit. Around what we mean around credit optimization and what that can mean to a borrower. And then, as I mentioned before, Renata is going to then take us through a demo of the new platform to show just how easy it is to do that. So I think I'm okay to share my screen. Is that right, Molly? And yes, I do have access to do that. See, are you guys seeing the full screen here? Perfect. That doesn't always happen. So I think,
Mike, actually, if you can flip it, it's reversed in view at the moment. There you go. Thank you.
Sweet. Thank you, Renata. You've got my back always. So I think, before we really get into credit optimization, one of the things I want to do is just talk about what credit optimization isn't. I think oftentimes we get confused at Credit Expert around what we do, and they say, oh yeah, you guys do credit repair, or you do credit counseling. And it's not true. It's not what we do. So credit repair, as many of you know, it's a dispute-based process. It's a manual review of that credit file. And at the end of the day, it's really relevant for a relatively small percentage of the population out there in terms of what it can produce in terms of benefits. And the fact that it's manual, it's really not that precise. And then with counseling, it's really a consultative process, right? And when we talk about credit counseling, that's something where really it is a long-term process. There are counselors out there that are helping people really reestablish their relationship with money, helping them budget better and make better financial decisions so that they can get to a place where they could actually afford a home. But credit optimization, it contrasts pretty nicely to these in that it's data-driven. It brings certainty to the table, right? We use predictive analytics, and Renata is going to show a little bit about what we do there. In the process, what we do is we optimize against a bunch of different scenarios. In fact, hundreds of scenarios in just a matter of seconds. We show you the likelihood of reaching that target score, and give you the precise steps that you need to take in order to achieve a score. And I think one of the biggest things for lenders here is that with credit repair and credit counseling, if you refer those borrowers out, they are likely not going to return to your pipeline because, as I mentioned, they are longer term, and you're going to have a hard time kind of getting them back in. Credit optimizations we're going to show you can happen very quickly. You keep them within your pipeline, and you have some pretty impressive results there. And I think one of the things that I mentioned here around repair and counseling is that they're really focused on a minority of those that are actually applying for mortgage in terms of their applicability. And I think that contrasts pretty nicely to credit optimization here. So what you're seeing is a graph. So we here at Credit Expert, we analyze about 50%. Is that right, Renata, of all the mortgage credit transactions that come through the market?
Yeah, over the years, it's hovered anywhere between 50 and 60%.
Yeah. So we have a really good representative sample. In fact, we've actually looked at it, from a geographic dispersion, and it's very, very representative of what the market looks like. And so in this graph, what you're seeing is, in totality, the number of mortgage credit inquiries that we've analyzed within a year. across all the different credit bins, right? So as you can see, it starts out relatively, small in those lower bins in terms of people applying, and really the bulk of the market starts to come in around that 620 and up in terms of people that are inquiring about a mortgage. And so what we know is that of that darker area there, that's the percentage of people or the number of people within each of those bands that could improve their score in 30 days with it by at least 20 points. And so, when you contrast that up against repair and counseling, as the headline says here, 74% of those with scores below 780 could improve that score by 20. So it applies to a much, much larger population out there in the market. And so what does that mean? So 20 points, for some, it could mean something significant. So it could get them over the hump to qualify for a loan. It could lower their rate. But when we start to look at things, from an outcome perspective, and if you think about your pipeline, what we do know is that 53% of those that didn't initially qualify for an FHA loan could do so within 30 days. So you just think about, that 53% that's likely sitting on the floor, and you're not able to get somebody into a home. That's pretty significant. As you go down the line, 36% could qualify for a conventional, and that number is a little bit smaller than what you see with FHA. And there's a reason for that. There's a little double counting going on here, because there are those that didn't qualify for an FHA, but could within that 30 days get to the point where they could qualify for a conventional. 43% could increase their purchasing power by qualifying for a jumbo. And then a pretty significant 71%, and this is really important in days like today, could qualify for a lower rate, right? So, and again, this is within 30 days. This is within that purchase loan cycle. So to give you guys a little bit more sense of what this could mean, I turned to Mike Fawaz, who's over at Rocket. He runs their credit upgrade team. And, I kind of want to just give this guy a big hug, because he created this awesome video out on YouTube, and maybe we can even send that out to people, talking about what Rocket does around credit optimization. And he provided this awesome case study. He said, in this particular case, there was a borrower that they were working with that was looking for a $544,000 purchase loan. And in 9 days, they were able to increase that borrower's score from a 634 all the way up to a 740. So what that did is it brought about 6-tier pricing improvements, pretty significant there. It lowered the LLPA from 3.25 to 0.25, so significant savings there. And then that client ended up saving about $18,000. So if you think about, one, if you're the client there, that's pretty significant in terms of being able to, get into a much better situation. But from a lender perspective, the fact that Rocket is working with them and helping them get to a better place, my sense is they're not going anywhere. Even if they were working with multiple lenders, that's a pretty compelling, case there, and it's all around credit optimization. So that's a high level one. I'd love to just kind of walk you through. This is our own data. We made up the loan amount because we don't have that in there, but I wanted to be able to show everybody, what really could happen here at a little bit more granular level. So this particular borrower came in, their initial score was a 640. And let's just imagine that they were looking for, a $400,000 home, and they had an LTV of 90% there. So as you can see here in the first, scenario that we ran for them, we performed about 684 simulations, and we're able to get them a 33 point increase within a really short period of time. The likelihood of them hitting that was at 87, which is pretty good. But Renata, we really try to recommend to lenders that they want to get up to a more 90% certainty level, right?
Yeah, and I'll show that when a little bit later in our presentation. But the algorithms really focus on 92, 93% or higher,
Yeah.
just to ensure that the probability of success is as optimal as it can be. It'll be very clear once I show the demo to our participants of that you can even see between different plan options for you, what the different parameters are and what the cash outlay is pretty quickly.
Yeah.
To your point, you said many of us are working too hard to be able to do this optimization quickly.
Yeah, yeah, and Renata's going to show you how you can like stay in your pajamas and work really hard with our new platform. But I'd point out you pointed out, Renata, the cash required there. So in that first scenario, it would cost that borrower about $1,400 to pay down debt to be able to get there. Now, if they were able to bring a little bit more cash to the table, $4,200 in this case, we could get them to a 680, so that's a 40-point bump. So that's moving them up to 2 full bins. And as Renata was pointing out, we're in that sweet spot of 94% likelihood that they'll be able to achieve that score. And as you can see, the timing here is immediate. So what that means, and this is kind of going down, what Mike Fawaz was pointing out, is that in this particular case, you're dropping your interest rate from an initial 7.65 all the way down to a 7% interest rate. We did this case study, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. The interest rates might be higher now, but it's directionally correct here. But as you can see, if they get to that 680, and the $4,200 may seem like a pretty significant investment, but also if you think about what they're going to be doing with that, they're going to be retiring likely revolving debt that they have on credit cards that's probably at a very, very high interest rate at this point in time. So you think about this, you're kind of paying yourself twice, right? If you're using that cash that you might have put down for a down payment to retire some of that high interest rate credit card debt, and as you can see here, you're going to be saving significantly on your principal and interest payments. So in this case, $158 a month. You're also going to be saving on mortgage insurance, right? So that's another $131 a month that you can that this borrower would be saving. And when you take a look at how long they'd have to be paying that mortgage insurance, going to cut about 6 months of that off, right? So pretty significant savings. This total savings at the bottom, totals up to about $73,000 over the life of the loan, and that's just money in your pocket. If you were to think about this, well, taking that, $158 a month, or if you combine that with the mortgage interest savings, and you were to put that into some sort of investment vehicle, it becomes a much, much bigger number over a 30-year period of time. So from a borrower perspective, this is super compelling. When you look at this from a lender's perspective, right? And why would you do this? There are significant savings on LLPAs, right? So same thing here. Original score, had them at a 2% LLPA. When you get to that 40-point bump there, that lender is saving $1,800 in LLPA premiums, which is pretty darn significant. So anyway, so that's kind of like the mechanics of what credit optimization can do. And so I think it's pretty clear that this can have benefits for both borrowers and for lenders in terms of pulling more through the pipeline. But I'd also say that, this is a great opportunity for lenders to stand out in the marketplace as well, right? So we did some research just about this time last year with borrowers that had either purchased a home within the past 3 months, had either refied in the past 3 months, or were thinking about purchasing a home within the next 3 months. And what we found when we asked them, did your LO give you an opportunity to optimize your credit score? And 65% of them said no, that they didn't have that opportunity. And, I put myself in that category. I've bought probably 5 or 6 homes in my life, and never has anybody stopped and said, hey, you're approved. However, let's see what we can do to maybe get you, up to, a higher score. And I have to think that, at least speaking for myself, that would make me feel really good about the lender that I'm working with. And so of the 35% that did say that they were offered that, 70%, nearly 70% of them said that they took the necessary steps to improve their score. And so, I think there's a lot of demand out there for consumers for something like this. In fact, the research that we did here pointed to that. It pointed to the fact that consumers really value something like this, and it will change the way they think about their lenders. Same study here. This one, I absolutely love the graph here. The question we had asked them, and we talked to them about credit optimization and how it works and whatnot. And then we asked them, well, why would you do something like this? And I think the top answer there is probably not a surprise. And it kind of goes back to my first point that I was making in terms of borrowers working hard. They're doing this because they want to save money. And then if you skip down to the number 3, very similar story. I would do this because I think that my lender will give me a better rate with a higher score. But if you look at all these pink bars in here, these are all emotive type things. These are things that, I know will really help lenders stand out there in the marketplace and solidify relationships with their borrowers. And so, when as we ask them, why would they do this? It gives them a sense of empowerment. It gives them a sense that they did everything that they could to get that lowest rate. It gave them confidence through the process. It took the mystery out of the process, right? I think a lot of borrowers come to the table thinking that, look, this is just a, foregone conclusion. I'm going to hand over all this, financial information, and it's going to go into a computer somewhere, and it's going to spit out and like, hey, this is what you're going to pay. But I think it gave them a sense of, it took some of the mystery out, gave them a sense of control. And it took some of the stress out, right? So if you think about going into a situation where, you really don't have any options, if you find that you do have some options, or there are ways in which you can impact the outcome, that does take some of the stress out of it, right? It's like, okay, I can do something here. So I just wanted to kind of throw that up there. Again, it's one of my favorite slides in that, aside from the numbers here, working with your borrowers and using credit optimization is a great way to really solidify that relationship, which is another reason that they would decide to go with you. So anyways, that was a pretty quick walkthrough around what credit optimization is. Happy to take any questions if we have them, Molly, or we can just head over to Renata, because I want to give her a chance to show the new platform and show them, the people that are logged in today, just how easy it is to do this.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you, Mike, for covering that. And as I was listening to this, I'm worried it could be a lot of work for the LO, but I know, Mike, you said at the beginning, we're already working too hard, and Renata's team has been making sure that the product is easy for both lenders and borrowers. Without getting into complicated math and algorithms, she's going to walk us through that. But first, I have another poll question that I wanted to share with everyone. This one is, let's see. How familiar with Credit Expert are you? Let me see if I can get this to show here on the screen. Well, I'm not able to. We'll send it out in a survey after, but we just wanted to get a sense. How many of you on the webinar today already know about Credit Expert, or are already using it, or have access to it but haven't used it yet? So we'll find out more about that after. But Renata, can you take it away and show us the platform and how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to just take a couple of minutes and just give everyone just kind of a 30,000-foot view of things, and also a little bit of history around how we got here today. So most of you, or many of you, may know Credit Expert. We've been around for over 20 years, and we've had a number of tools out in the market for many, many years that many of you may currently be using. There's about 60,000 mortgage professionals in the market that use our tools. So chances are that you are familiar with What If Simulator and Wayfinder. Those are the tools that we've built. We will be retiring these tools in October of 2024. And all the lenders will have an opportunity to upgrade to the new platform that we launched a little while ago that I'll be walking through today. and really the motivation behind the new platform was to build something really easy to offer credit optimization to everyone and all borrowers. It makes it easy to scale credit optimization. So whether you're a single originator or one of today's biggest lenders, like Mike shared with Rocket, is one of our users. So, with the new platform, we work to address some of, really high level demands that we learned from our lenders that used What If Simulator and Wayfinder. So I'll just list a couple of them. One of them was 3 bureaus. The ability to see all bureau information on a plan at the same time, so they're not flipping back and forth. Because that does create the most optimized mid-score. And rescores are also minimized, and I'll point that out when I show you guys. They wanted kind of a modern utility, right? We're so used to being on all of these really interesting apps that it's intuitive. And it allows for high production environments. So if it's intuitive, easy to use, you can do higher volume business. And the last was really that they wanted faster access to better features. So now that this is a cloud delivery model, that allows us to push updates based on information that we learned from our users every 2 weeks. And as Mike knows, we do push out new features, and some of them are, small utility features that we hear from you that would make it really much easier for you in production. Some of them are, some higher utility. So, so at a really high level, there's kind of 4 steps. So you're identifying a borrower's credit potential. How much could they improve their score within a 30-day time frame or less? You generate a precise credit optimization plan with just a couple of clicks. You track the borrower's completion of plan, and that's a really big one. Many of you are still calling, texting, trying to figure out, I sent the plan over to them. Are they doing it? Are they not doing it? Are they going to do it? Are they not going to do it? And this really allows you and the borrower to be able to see what their actions are against the plan that you've shared with them. And then, for larger organizations, or even for single users, to really understand how the tools are helping you. So really insightful dashboards and management reports on it. So let me take you through a quick demo. I promise I'll try to make it just a few minutes. I'm going to grab the share. And if you guys can confirm for me that when you do see it, so that way I know that I am excellent. Thank you. Okay. So as a mortgage originator, you will have a username and password on the platform. You'll log in, and all the credit pulls and credit reports that you have pulled with your credit reporting agency will already be here. We already have integrations with most of the CRAs in the market. If they're not integrated yet, we have a line of sight when that will be done. So if you're pulling 5 a week, 5 a month, 250 a month, all of them are going to be pulled in here. So you'll see all of them coming through. You'll see the person's name. You'll see their current mid-score. There's a couple of ways to also take a look if you prefer a view that shows all of the bureaus, and it highlights the mid-score for you, where the person is today. Now, with that, we'll take a look at Rosebud, but you'll be able to kind of see the borrowers and when the date was pulled, so you'll have a sense of timing. So for Rosebud, we'll use Rosebud. She's at 633. Our goal is to potentially get her to a 660. So we're going to go ahead and create the plan for her. Now, the algorithm is pulling in the data that you had pulled on the credit report. If it is 1 bureau, 2 bureaus, 3 bureaus, soft or hard pull, that information comes in. The platform will utilize whatever it is that you pulled. Now you can see here, it shows you which bureaus were loaded, what her current mid score is, and which one it is. Now this is a demo environment, so please do ignore the date that it's 12/31/2023, because that has not happened yet. But the date of the report will be there for you. So you can see here across, and Mike, that's what you and I were talking about on the slide, is that you can see that our algorithms pulled that there are 3 plans that are possible for Rose. And so if we wanted to do the 660, it's about $1,295, but it also specifically highlights what does Rose need to do in order to get to that 660 within that time frame. You also can change the time frame. So if you think that you need a more immediate plan, if maybe Rose needs a little bit more time, you'll be able to change that, and the algorithm will immediately do the math for you. So no complicated math, Molly. Also, you can change the amount of money. So it says $1,295. Maybe Rose has more, maybe she has a little bit less. So all of that will happen in real time. And then you also have some ability to add some things to plan. So whether there's some underwriting issues that maybe you learned about through your conversations with Rose, or there's some balance updates or unreported accounts that you've learned about that could all impact the plan, you'll be able to put that in. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is that if you need an immediate plan, you'll see that it'll update this immediately. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is that this little highlighted area right here, because within a 30-day window, you may need to do a rescore or 2. So what the platform does that makes it so much easier is it outlines for you specifically which rescores may be needed against which bureaus. So this is a lot of that manual back and forth that you probably do today. So this just takes the guesswork right out of it. But in addition to that, it gives you the last reported date for that trade line. So if you want to avoid the rescore fees, you also can say, you know what, it's the 6th. I could probably wait until the 14th, or she can wait until the 14th. So we don't need to incur those particular costs. So then let's say this is the plan that I want. You're going to hit this plan. You're going to invite Rose to the platform, and it will share it with her. You put in the date that you feel is important based on the time period that you have. You put in her email address, phone number, and the invitation is sent to her. Now, let me show you what then you'll be able to do. So now we're back on our credit pulls, but we see that Rosebud has a plan, and this is her plan. And you'll be able to see as she's making steps in her user interface. We have it in an app that's mobile responsive. Most people do everything on their mobiles now, mobile devices. As she's completing the steps, you'll actually see it as well. So you'll know exactly what she's done and when she's done it. Now, in some cases, some people may still want to be able to call you or text you, be like, hey, I did that. You can do it on her behalf as well. So as she is working through her plan, you'll be able to see it. And when she's done, you'll be able to see when she's completed. Now, with all of this, you'll be able to see all the plans and all of your borrowers. So this is everyone that I'm working in with and where they are in the status of their plan and the progress. And then the last piece I wanted to show you was some of the dashboards that I had mentioned around how things are working for you, where the plan's falling in place. And there are many other dashboards within the platform, but this is just something that I wanted to share with you. So you'll see the credit pulls by plan types. You'll be able to see how many credit pulls total you may have done for a particular time period, how many plans were being built. And for some of the larger lenders, you'll be able to see your different branches. So if you have a geographic breakdown of your loan professionals, or you have very specific branches throughout the, the organization, you'll be able to do that. So really easy, takes a lot of that work out that I think many of you do. That's really difficult to do. Takes the guesswork out and puts the borrower into the best path for the most optimal plan with the least amount of cash and the highest probability. So that's what I wanted to share with everyone here, just to show with the platform.
Yeah, well, great job, Renata. And I think, I think the takeaway here is that Renata's team works really hard, so you don't. As you can see, it's pretty easy to go through here. And, even with the reporting here, this is something that is not available for our current tools, right? They're single use, it's single bureau. We have meetings with Renata's team every month where we're bringing feedback, from lenders that we're working with. And so these reports that we're seeing here are evolving, almost on a monthly basis around what lenders want to see, what they think would be helpful. And, that's just on the reporting piece of it. I know, Renata, that we're just continuing to bring really cool features to market, just like the ones that you showed around, seemingly small things like exposing that trade line update thing. But, the lenders that have seen this and have been using it, their heads are just exploding. Like, we didn't have the ability to do that, prior to this. So your team's just doing great work.
Well, and definitely not in this type of a streamlined way where they would need to go reference multiple documents in different systems, or a paper copy somewhere on their desk to be able to take a look and find that trade line. Because this is a simple example. Some of your borrowers may have hundreds of trade lines that you're going to be that need to be considered, and just the man or woman power to be able to calculate through those is quite cumbersome, and some things could be missed.
Yeah. But I mean, I think you did a great job, Renata, and you were talking all the way along and kind of highlighting things. You could probably have cut this demo by 2/3.
Yes.
And that's how quickly you can do this. And you don't have to have any specialty knowledge about credit to be able to do it, right? The engine does that for you.
That's right. Absolutely right. That's the lot of the value that we bring to everyone's hands.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to see, thank you, Renata, and thank you, Mike.
I'm going to stop sharing so I can see everybody. I'm so sorry.
I'm going to launch another poll, and then we have some questions that participants have for you. So this poll is really simple. How familiar are you with Credit Expert? And go ahead and answer whether you're very familiar, you use it often, or you're familiar, you use it from time to time, or you're familiar, I've heard of it, but I don't use it. Or if you're not familiar at all, and this is the first that you're hearing about Credit Expert, let us know in the poll there. And in the Q&A, again, this webinar is live, so please, any questions that you have, Mike and Renata want to answer those. So put them in the Q&A and we will get to them. Okay, are you ready for the first question? This is from John Rogers, and he wants to know, will the product provide a solution for score goal when removing disputed trade lines? For example, when the score is projected to drop currently in the what if simulator. I have not seen this feature on the previous demo and currently in Wayfinder. He is looking forward to your response. Thanks, John.
Yeah, thank you, John. So I know exactly the feature that John is asking about, and that is exclude trade lines. That is a current feature in our what if simulator product line. So you are completely accurate, and that is currently in testing to be incorporated into the platform as one of the additional feature sets, and it is currently scheduled to be in the platform in January. So that's been in the works and in development, and we're doing final testing with that particular one. We have heard a lot of feedback from our user community that that is a really important feature set that is in What If Simulator that they really need in the platform. So we're meeting that demand and feedback.
Awesome. Okay, the next question is, just want to reconfirm there will be a score plan solution and ETA for both FICO 10T and Vantage Score 4.0.
100%. We will be ready ahead of the market. We've been working on the new models for quite some time. We are still working on the timelines that were published before they were taken off market, and we were ready with kind of the first phase in Q1 2024 until the delay. So rest assured that this is something that is very important, and we are already actively working on that as we speak.
Okay, great. This next question is Rose able to pay? So I think what she's asking is the borrower able to pay for the service?
Meaning, can a consumer jump in and do this on their own? And so the answer to that is no. The way that we do this is we want borrowers to be working with experienced loan originators through this process. And in fact, Renata, you can only get access to Credit Expert if you are a registered loan officer. Is that correct?
That is correct. And the borrowers would be invited by you once the plan is built in order to then complete the steps. So it gives you full kind of control of being able to use your expertise, right? Build the plan, invite them in, and build that and hold on to that relationship. Yes.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons, aside from kind of regulatory, concerns, is that, as I mentioned, we want them working with a loan officer because we want them to be working on their score and optimizing that score when it matters. And so we wouldn't want, a consumer to be out there and say, look, I'm thinking about, purchasing a home in the next few months. They go, they do the work, and then, they go out and they have to, have a big expense or something like that might shape their credit score in a different direction. So we want to make sure that it's at that moment, and that they're working with a lender to get the best outcome.
Okay, great. Keep the questions coming, everybody. Here's the next question. The cost of rescoring. How can loan officers reduce this?
Yeah. So I think I talked a little bit to that during the demo, right? And part of that is really understanding when the trade lines are going to be re-reported, right? And really understanding them across all the bureaus. Because I think that's based on our learnings over the decades, that's where a lot of the costs are incurred, where it is that maybe not understanding or not having the information that maybe it's just a week out and you can wait versus paying across all three bureaus, or paying for ones that maybe you didn't need to and rescoring them against ones that are not going to be as impactful. So that is part of that feature set that towards the bottom that I showed, and I'm happy to pop that up again if that's needed, where it's the date of the next report and specifically where the rescore should happen against which bureau.
Yeah, and I think I could speak to that just a little bit more, Renata. And when you look at our legacy tools, and as you pointed out, the fact that this new platform optimizes against all three bureaus and trade lines. And so what we know is that you can save about 25% by having, our intelligence doing that for you. And so 25% savings on the rescores is pretty significant. That doesn't take into account what you had pointed out before, where you can look at the trade line refresh dates and you might say, oh, 2 of these are going to refresh in 3 days. I'm just not going to rescore those. I'm going to wait for them to naturally refresh. So I think with the new platform, there are some really significant savings that you'll see on rescores over what as you mentioned, 60,000 loan officers are using today.
Okay, so this is a good question, especially considering the last question, but do I need to be a credit specialist to use, like, how much credit specialization information and knowledge do I need to know to be able to do this for borrowers?
Well, I think, and Renata, I'd love for you to kind of take the second half of this. I think, at the end of the day, I could have done the demo that Renata just did. I mean, it's that easy. There are a lot of guardrails there. You create a plan. Our engine does the work for you. In fact, it optimizes against the highest score and the lowest cash amount needed. So it's really meant for high production and can be put in the hands of anybody that is an originator. I do think, and this is where Renata, you can speak to this a little bit more. There are edge cases out there where you need to have some sort of specialized knowledge, and we have features built into that. So I don't know, Renata, if you want to chat about that a little bit.
Yeah, and to Mike's point, right, it really is built, for, and the guardrails are there. And there's some user experiences that if you do things that don't make sense or would be detrimental, the system will actually say no plan available, or it would really, like, outside of throwing up alarms, right, it would definitely communicate to the user that is something that it should not be done and could be quite detrimental. So lots of things in place in order to ensure that you don't need to be a credit specialist or have worked as a credit specialist role for decades in order to have that knowledge.
Well, and I think it's important to note, Renata, that your team, and this kind of blows me, I don't know how they do this, but they meet with credit specialists, with LOs, hundreds of them a year.
Yes.
They are talking to them, they're walking through new updates to the software, new user experiences. And so they're gathering all that expertise, and then we're building it in such a way that it can be used by literally anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, everybody watching, this is the last call for questions. I have one more question already, and then if anybody has any last minute questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A, and Mike and Renata will get to them. So how do I upgrade to this new platform?
Yeah. So Renata, you mentioned when you started that we're going to be retiring our existing tools that you buy today through your CRA. So Wayfinder and What If Simulator will no longer be available after October 1st of 2024, right? So we're kind of getting down, to the wire. We're about to click over into 2024. We've been working with, as Renata also mentioned, all the CRAs out there to get connections done. It's a fairly easy upgrade process, right? They'd be contracting directly with us. Especially those that have used us, in the past. They're familiar with Credit Expert. Again, we're putting a better product in their hands. And so what they can do is they can go to creditexpert.com/upgrade and start the process there. And, whether you're, representing a very large lender, one of the top, 50 HMDA lenders, we're going to connect you in that instance with somebody from our enterprise team, all the way down to, small originators. Well, I will not say we, Renata's team built this, this process where you can add, coming off of creditexpert.com/upgrade, go in, validate yourself, select a plan that works for you, put your credit card in, and within 3 to 5 business days, be up and running on the new platform.
Wow, that's good news.
You can thank Renata again.
Thank you, Renata.
Yeah.
My pleasure. We are trying to make it as easy as possible, and in most cases, it's even less than time than that. There's just some things that with the CRAs that need to be connected on your behalf, and then it's really turnkey.
Renata and my colleague, Jen, who's our general counsel, makes us say 3 to 5 days because those are the service level agreements that and even
Well, I just want to say on behalf of the whole Next community, my name is Molly Dowdy. It's been brought to my attention. I didn't even introduce myself at the beginning of this webinar, but I co-founded Next with Jerry Yoshida, and we want to thank you so much, Mike Darn and Renata Shiner, for sponsoring this webinar, sharing all this information that not only benefits lender executives in our community, but also the applicants and borrowers that are working with them. Especially right now, this is needed more than ever. And so thank you for spending some time with us to walk through everything and explain everything. And if people have more questions, you can email them to us, and we're happy to share with Mike and Renata and get you connected to the credit expert team. So thank you, everybody.
thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Have a great week and happy holidays to everybody.
You as well. Take care.
Bye.